Welcome to Staffworks Explained. In this video, we'll be talking about the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo conflict that has been ongoing for some time now. We'll try to answer questions such as the causes of this conflict, the role of EAC members in dealing with the conflict, and also which are the effective strategies in dealing with this conflict. Is it military strategy or political strategy? As we know, the conflict in the Eastern DRC refers to a long-standing and ongoing series of armed conflicts in the region. This started way in 1990s. The conflict involves various armed groups and the government forces, each competing for the control over natural resources such as mineral. We know that DRC is rich in minerals, as well as power and territory. The conflict has resulted in widespread violence, human rights abuses, displacement of local population, and also it has had significant humanitarian consequences, which include food insecurity, disease outbreaks, and sexual violence. Despite the efforts by the Congolese government and international organizations to restore peace and stability in this region, the conflict continues to this day. The conflict involves several armed groups, as we have heard, and they include the following. We have the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, which is a group that mostly consists of fighters who are of Hutu ethnic group, and they have believed to have contributed greatly in the Rwandan genocide of 1994. And this is the group that Rwanda accuses Kinshasa of supporting. Then we have the Allied Democratic Forces, which is a group that has its roots from Uganda. It is believed that this rule comprises of Muslims from Uganda who have had ambitions of overthrowing Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda, and in several occasions this group has attacked Uganda, including a recent bomb attack in Kampala, and this group was followed deep into the Eastern DRC by the Ugandan forces, and this to some extent caused some tension between Rwanda and Kinshasa. Then we have the National Army of the Liberation of Uganda, NALU. We have the Mai Mai militia, and then we have the Congolese army on the other end, among other groups. So these groups are involved in a complex web of rivalries and alliances, and this has aggravated the situation in DRC. Complicating it even further is the ethnic and tribal groups which are widespread in this region. So the conflict has led to widespread violence with several human rights abuses, displacement of local population, among others. So what are the causes of this conflict? What are some of the causes that have been put forward to explain this conflict? One of them is control of mineral resources in Eastern DRC, particularly South Kivu and North Kivu provinces. Control of over minerals has been a source of conflict for several reasons. First, the region is rich in valuable minerals such as tin, tantalum, gold, among others, and these are used in various industries including electronics, aerospace, jewelry, among others. Armed groups as well as some state actors compete for control over these resources and mines and also trade routes. So this competition often results in violence as armed groups use force to gain and maintain control over mines. Secondly, the lack of state presence and regulation in some of these areas has allowed widespread illegal mining and smuggling of minerals, and this has fueled conflict, and as different groups try to exert control over these illicit activities. Then there is sale of conflict minerals, which have been used to finance the ongoing conflict, and this further leads to further violence. The exploitation of minerals has thus contributed to persistence and intensification of conflict in Eastern DRC. Then we have the historical grievances in the Eastern DRC, and this has been a source of conflict due to unresolved issues from the past, which continue to fuel tensions and violence in the region. One of the major historical grievances is the legacy of colonization, which saw the exploitation and marginalization of Congolese people by the European powers. This has left deep wounds and legacy of distrust, which has contributed to the current conflict and instability in the region. Another historical grievance is the legacy of the 1994 Rwanda genocide, in which more than 800,000 Tutsi and moderate Hutu were killed. This event led to displacement of hundreds of thousands of refugees into DRC, and the rise of armed groups and militias have contributed to the ongoing violence and instability in the region. Additionally, there are also historical grievances related to land disputes, ethnic and unequal distribution of resources, which has contributed to this problem. Then we have poverty, and it's believed that poverty has contributed to this conflict in several ways. First, it has increased competition over limited resources, which include land and minerals, leading to conflict between different groups. Secondly, poverty has made it more difficult for people to access basic needs such as food, healthcare, and education, and this has created a sense of desperation and increased likelihood of violence. Poverty has also led to limited ability of the government to provide security and support to its citizens, and this has created a power vacuum that is filled by the armed groups. Additionally, poverty has limited access to justice and rule of law, which has created a cycle of violence and insecurity that is difficult to break. Overall, poverty has contributed to the conflict of Eastern DRC by creating a context in which violence is more likely to occur, and by limiting the ability of the government and international community to address the root causes of this conflict. Then we have political instability. This region has had a long history of political instability, which is marked by coups, civil wars, and weak governance. This instability has created a power vacuum, which has allowed armed groups to fill the void and assert control over certain territory, particularly in this part of that country. These groups often use violence and intimidation to maintain their power, and they frequently engage in criminal activities such as illegal mining, smuggling, and human trafficking to fund their operations. The lack of strong government presence in this area has made it difficult for the state to enforce laws and provide basic services to its citizens. This has fueled resentment and mistrust among the population, which in turn has contributed to proliferation of armed groups. In addition, the DRC political instability has hindered its ability to address the real causes of this conflict, such as poverty, unequal distribution of resources, and this makes it difficult to bring lasting peace and stability in the region. Another factor or another cause is the spillover from the neighboring countries. When you talk about spillover from neighboring countries, this refers to spread of violence and instability from one country to another. In this case, DRC spillover from conflicts in neighboring countries has contributed to the ongoing instability in the region. We have mentioned of military forces such as ADF, FDLR from Rwanda, which is mainly Hutu. We have armed groups which are coming from Burundi and other countries. You know that DRC shares borders with 9 other countries, and some of its neighbors have experienced long-standing conflict. We have Rwanda, which had genocide, and some of the militias are from Rwanda. We have Uganda, we have also Burundi, South Sudan, among others. So this has led to proliferation of armed groups across the region, and this has fueled conflict in the country. For example, in 1994 Rwanda genocide, there is in which an estimated almost 1 million Tutsi and moderate Hutus were killed, and this led to flight of many Rwanda refugees into DRC. So this refugee crisis in turn contributed to coming of other groups in the region, and this fueled the conflict in DRC. In addition, the conflict in the neighboring Burundi has also had spillover effects in the DRC, as armed groups operating in Burundi have used the DRC as a base from which to launch attacks. So these spillovers from neighboring countries have contributed to the ongoing stability in the DRC and have made it difficult to achieve peace. We talk of M23, which is a rebel group which is still active and very active in DRC, and this group is believed to be supported by Rwanda. So this group has been used by Rwanda to fight the Hutus majority group, which is also believed to be supported by the Congolese government. Then we have the ADF, Allied Democratic Forces, which is a rebel group active in eastern DRC, which has been active since 1990s, and it's known for its brutal tactics and attacks on civilians. This group is believed to be made up of Ugandans who, for some reasons, would like to have a change of power or to destabilize Uganda. And Ugandan government has been following these groups, this group inside the eastern DRC. Then we have the Mai Mai Militia, which is a loosely organized group of local self-defense units which have been formed in response to activities of other groups in the region. We have the FDLR, Democratic Force for the Liberation of Rwanda, which is a group mainly composed of Rwandan Hutu refugees, which has been active in this side of the country since 1990s and is responsible for the widespread violence and human rights abuses. We had CNDP, which has evolved into M23 and other groups. So presence of these groups is a spillover from problems that are experienced in other countries. And when President Kagame says that DRC problem is their own problem, this is far from the truth, because to some extent, some of the conflicts that it's experienced in these countries are as a result of what is happening or what has happened in the neighboring countries. ADF of Uganda is initially, before it evolved into a criminal organization, had intentions of challenging the rule of Yoweri Museveni. So the current situation in Uganda, or the situation that was there when this group was formed in Uganda, could have led to creation of this group. And since they could not operate from Uganda, they moved to an area where there is an environment that can allow them to continue their activities. So this group, we can say the spillover of what was happening in Uganda as far as governance is concerned led to creation of this group, and they went to hiding in an environment where they can be able to carry out the activities. The same with M23. M23 is supported, as it is believed, by Rwanda, and its main aim is to fight the FDLR, a group that is believed to attempt to destabilize Rwanda. Then we have groups from Burundi, which also are created due to problems that the country is experiencing. So spillover effects have led to continuation of this violence. So because this region, its disability, its instability, has been a good haven for these groups to thrive. So when people argue that Eastern DRC conflict is entirely a DRC problem, this is far from the truth. As we see, neighboring countries have had a role as far as escalation of this conflict is concerned. Given the foregoing intentions to solve the conflict, it's not clear which strategy probably will yield the best fruits. There has been an attempt to use the military strategy, but this has failed in different times. So combination of two strategies, military and non-military strategies, is seen as effective, because as you have seen, causes are not only armed groups. These armed groups have come up because of some reasons or some issues that need to be addressed. So when we combine the two, and there have been efforts to do this, there has been efforts to bring the warring groups together, but this has not been very successful, especially when it comes to involvement of the largest group, the M23. Kinshasa government has not been keen into talking with this group. They call them a terrorist organization, and as we hear elsewhere, they're not ready to talk with the terrorists. Then there's the issue of bringing in the East African region of armed forces, and although this group has managed to bring some semblance of sanity in this area, they are far from achieving the objectives of bringing peace in this country. So military strategy and political strategies are seen as needed for a comprehensive and sustainable solution to this conflict. When we talk of political strategies, they aim at addressing the root cause of the conflict, such as a weak governance, political instability, economic inequality, historical grievances. This can involve initiatives to improve governance and state institutions to address social and economic issues that fuel conflict, and also to promote reconciliation and peace building. Military strategies, on the other hand, focus on neutralizing armed groups and improving security. This can involve operation of binational and international security forces to disrupt the activities of the armed forces, as well as disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration programs for the former fighters. Ultimately, a successful and sustainable solution to this conflict in DRC will require a combination of these two strategies, which is tailored to specific contexts and need of the region. So we'll keep on looking at this conflict and see how it progresses, how the issues that are coming up will be dealt with. Recently, we have had a diplomatic spat between Kinshasa and Kigali, and this has escalated. Given that now DRC joined EAC, it is interesting to see how this conflict will be solved, given that some of the members are actively involved in this especially in fueling this conflict in DRC. So we'll be doing more videos on this conflict, the progress that is being made, how the East African regional force is concerned, how the ongoing talks both in Luanda, Angola, and Nairobi, Kenya are going on, and what comes out of these talks. So thank you for watching this video. We invite comments on what can be the best strategy to solve this conflict, and also what in your thought can be the causes. What is the main cause of this conflict in this part of the East African community? So thank you again. Watch other videos that you have done on this topic, and also in other topic. If it's your first time here, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Watch various videos that we have done on different topics. Like, share, comment, and like.